Ron is the Executive Director of Payments, Supervision, and Oversight at the Bank of Canada. And he will be speaking to the evolution of the Canadian payments ecosystem. As a regulator, the Bank of Canada oversees financial market infrastructures that are critically important to the Canadian economy, including those owned and operated by Payments Canada. And we have a common objective, and that is to ensure that these systems are as resilient as possible. In addition to his oversight duties, Ron is also responsible for the supervision of retail payment service providers. And if that's not enough, he also oversees all of the banking and payment services provided by the Bank of Canada. The bank's supervision of payment service providers, or PSPs, focuses on building Canadians' confidence on the safety and reliability of their services while protecting end users. Since Ron's last appearance on this stage last year, we've certainly seen progress with the payment regulation and legislation, specifically around the RPAA, or the Retail Payments Activities Act, which gives the bank the responsibility of supervising PSPs in Canada. I'm always inspired by Ron's commitment to payments, and I look forward to hearing more about his insights into the future of payments in Canada. So please join me in welcoming Ron.
Thank you very much, Christina. Good morning, and thank you very much for inviting me to take part in this year's Payments Canada Summit. I'm very glad to have the chance to spend some time with you today. And during that time, I'd like to talk to you about how payments have evolved in Canada and why it's important to continue on with the modernization of our payment system and really get that job done. So, I don't think we can appreciate how far we've come without taking a bit of a look back in history, maybe a look way back in history. For those of you who have had the good fortune of visiting the Bank of Canada Museum in Ottawa, you would have surely noticed the ray stone in the lobby, which originated from the Micronesian island of Yap. This is a 3-ton ancient instrument of currency that was used in trading goods and services. It often traveled across the ocean from owner to owner. You can think of it as a big, round, incredibly heavy banknote. Now, we've come a long way since then to develop methods of payment that are much more convenient and efficient, but I do have to say that banknotes still have their pace. Cash remains a very useful and unique form of payment. It's universally acceptable without the need for technology, it's resilient, and it provides immediate settlement. Banknotes are widely held and used by the public and accepted by the vast majority of merchants. In fact, even today, cash is still used in 1 out of every 5 point-of-sale transactions. And that's why cash still plays an important role in our economy, and why I think it's fair to say cash isn't going anywhere anytime soon. Cash is the only form of public money accessible to all. It allows for privacy in transactions. It anchors our monetary and payment systems. So, banks committed to supporting the cash ecosystem, supplying secure and easy to recognize banknotes that Canadians can be proud of. This also involves counterfeit prevention and maintaining a very efficient cash distribution system. Bref, si le paiement numérique se développe au Canada, la banque va continuer de faciliter le paiement comptant. As I just said in French, as we modernize Canada's digital payment ecosystem, the bank will continue to do its part to support cash as a payment option for Canadians. But we also need to keep our eye on to the future to support individuals and businesses as their payment preferences evolve. So let's dive in and talk about that evolution. For the past few decades, many aspects of our lives have become digitized. The same is very true for how we pay for things. Digital payments have been on the rise for many years and have been displacing their analog equivalent, cash. So To illustrate this, I'm going to ask you to work with me to imagine a scenario where we're breaking down some of the payment options with our 1990s Canadian musical superstars, the Bare Naked Ladies. That's right, you're getting a speech from the Bank of Canada with lyrical references to the Bare Naked Ladies. You may recall their quest to determine what would they do if they had $1 million. Their purchases represent a wide range of goods and services and can also represent the many different ways in which we pay for things. As we've established, cash is still an important means of payment, so they'd be able to walk down to the store or take a limousine because it costs more, with a few $20 bills to pick up some pre-wrapped sausages, Kraft dinner, and personally my favorite, Dijon ketchup. They could also use mainstream digital payment methods like their debit or credit cards, a very popular means of buying goods and services. Debit and credit currently make up about 2/3 of payments volume in Canada. But back in their heyday, the Bare Naked Ladies would not have been able to pay online as the internet was really just starting and e-commerce was a bit of a dream. But today, like that of other Canadians, around 22% of their spending would occur online. And that could very well be how they choose to buy furniture for their house, like a nice Chesterfield or an ottoman. They could also send an e-transfer to pay the carpenter building a tree fort in their yard. Now, to back up a little bit, I mentioned mainstream digital payments just now, and that implies there are other digital payment innovations that remain a bit outside the norm. Here I'm thinking about crypto and stable coins. We may hear a lot about them in the news, but in reality, they're really not used very much as a method of payment. Our surveys of crypto asset users indicate the main motivation for owning most forms of crypto, like Bitcoin, is investment. That said, there are some specialized forms of crypto, such as fiat-backed stablecoins, that can act as a bridge between the crypto ecosystem and the traditional financial system. Stablecoins are effective in this way because they're native to the crypto world, but they also offer a stable value relative to fiat currencies like the Canadian or the US dollars. Stablecoins, however, have their own risks in their current form. For example, we need to ensure that the reserves backing these arrangements are safe and liquid. Fortunately, regulators are working to address these very issues. As we've seen many new digital payment technologies emerge, we've been studying whether or not these payment instruments might further displace the use of cash. So, as part of our core function to ensure a safe, secure supply of public money, we've been actively researching what a central bank digital currency might look like, essentially a digital Canadian dollar. We're certainly not alone in this work. Close to half the central banks around the world, including most of those in advanced economies, are in various stages of conceptualizing or even developing digital currencies. Here in Canada, we've been thinking a lot about how or why we may want or need a digital dollar. We've been engaging with Canadians to explore how it could be rolled out in a way that's widely accessible and that addresses very important privacy concerns. As we've said before, Canadians are very well served by the current range of payment options they have. The decision to go ahead with a digital dollar or not is one for Canadians to make through their elected representatives and their government. Our job at the Bank of Canada is to build the capacity to issue a digital currency if one day we are asked to do so. Now that we've talked about the trends in the evolution of payments in Canada, let's talk about the work underway to improve our national payments infrastructure. Over the past several years, the bank has been working with the federal government, Payments Canada, and the payments industry to support the evolution of our ecosystem. To that end, we have focused on 4 main pillars to improve speed, efficiency, and competition in payments. The first of those 4 pillars is Lynx, Canada's high-value payment system that went live in 2021. Lynx is used by participating financial institutions to safely send large Canadian dollar electronic payments on behalf of themselves and their customers. It is certainly no exaggeration to call it the backbone of the Canadian payment system and the economy more broadly. Over $400 billion a day in payments settles through links, more than any other Canadian payment system by far. Links also allows rich data to travel with each payment, such as invoice details or purchase information. This opens up a wide range of new possibilities for companies and financial institutions when it comes to automating the tracking and reconciliation of their payments. The second pillar of the modernization agenda is the supervision of payment service providers, or PSPs. So how do we define a PSP? At the risk of an oversimplification, a PSP is really any company that helps people store or move their money electronically. This encompasses a wide range of businesses, such as those that offer digital wallets, provide point-of-sale terminals, or facilitate cross-border money movements. Thus far, PSPs have been largely unregulated in Canada, aside from complying with anti-money laundering regulations. That's certainly not to imply they've not been up to any good or have been putting Canadian consumers at risk. But as part of our role to protect the country's economic welfare, and the government gave the bank a new mandate in 2021 through the Retail Payments Activities Act. The Act has created a supervisory regime that will build confidence in the safety and reliability of PSP services while protecting users from certain risks. Our initial analysis of the PSP universe suggests that there are over 3,000 service providers that will soon be required to register with a bank and comply with requirements to manage operational risks and to safeguard end user funds. Registration will open up on November 1st of this year, and PSPs will have 2 weeks to complete their registration. After the deadline, we have 10 months to process the large volume of registrations we're expecting. The verified list of PSPs will then be published as an official registry in September 2025, and our supervision at that point will begin in earnest. The bank has a lot of support available to PSPs to answer their questions and get them ready for the new supervisory regime. Our website has a wealth of resources, including a self-assessment tool to see if an entity is subject to our supervision, guidance about registration criteria, and information about how we'll approach our supervisory responsibilities. We have a booth here at the Summit. Come on by, check us out. We've also got some interactive breakout sessions later today to spell out how the registration is going to work in greater detail and give everyone an opportunity to ask questions. We want to make sure this process is as seamless as possible because there will be consequences for PSPs who fail to register or don't comply with our supervisory expectations. But retail payment supervision isn't just about providing greater oversight of those who help Canadians move their money around. PSPs that are supervised at the bank will also be eligible to become members of Payments Canada. As members, they will also be able to apply to become direct participants in national payments infrastructure like the real-time rail, or RTR, and I'll come back to the RTR shortly. At the end of the day, the bank's supervision of payment service providers will give Canadians further confidence in the safety and reliability of PSP services by bringing PSPs into the regulated sphere. In addition, we very much believe that broadening participation in infrastructure like the RTR will support a more competitive and more innovative payments ecosystem. Now, let's go back to the RTR, Canada's first truly real-time payment system. The system will allow businesses and consumers to send and receive payments 24/7, 365. Payments will be data-rich as well, creating potential efficiencies such as automated invoice processing. And I think it's fair to say that all of us are a bit disappointed that this initiative has yet to be completed. We are behind other jurisdictions in rolling out real-time payments capability, but the very good news is that despite the delays, we have a very clear way forward, and as you heard earlier, a Team of Canada-based approach. Payments Canada recently indicated the system should be ready for industry testing in 2026. Once it's up and running, the RTR will open up a world of new possibilities, not the least of which is linking real-time payment systems across borders. This could have innumerable benefits for countries like Canada and the United States. We are each other's largest trading partners, And linking real-time payment systems would give individuals and businesses the ability to move money across the border instantly and seamlessly. Last, but certainly not least, in the modernization journey is the Automated Clearing and Settlement System, ACSS. This is Canada's batch payment system. ACSS clears checks and other electronic items, such as pre-authorized debits. So if I circle back to the beginning of If I Had $1 Million, the first promise in the song is to buy you a house. And that would likely involve taking out a mortgage, since they have a lot of other expensive purchases noted later in the song. And mortgage payments represent one form of pre-authorized debit that is frequently cleared through the ACSS. Now, ACSS celebrates its 40th birthday this year. As you can imagine, its 1980s design and launch could not have predicted the technological innovations of the past 4 decades. Its antiquated network architecture makes it challenging to add new participants, and perhaps most importantly, the system does not meet the bank's risk management standards. Payments Canada and its members have started to consider solutions to these problems. It's still early days, but this could include introducing a new batch payment system, or it could include an approach like we heard from the previous panel, involving migrating payment streams to the RTR, such as is being considered in Australia. Now, these 4 pillars aren't the only efforts underway to modernize our payments ecosystem. Here I'm thinking about broader consumer protection for clients of payment service providers, which I know my colleagues at the Department of Finance are looking at. As we've heard thematically throughout the summit, we are also very concerned about detecting and preventing fraud in the real-time rail. It's very important that Payments Canada and its members address this issue before the RTR goes live. Finally, the recent announcement in Budget 2024 about the government's broader efforts towards open banking will create more opportunities to evolve the payments ecosystem in Canada. It's time for me to conclude, and in doing so, I'd really like to leave you with 2 messages. First, let me emphasize the national importance of the 2 outstanding pillars of modernization, the RTR and our batch payment system. Throughout history, economic progress has gone hand in hand with improving the speed and safety of how we pay for things. It is no exaggeration to say that if we don't take steps to continuously improve our payment systems, our economy will suffer. Comme je l'ai dit en anglais, on n'exagère pas en disant que l'économie va en souffrir si on n'améliore pas les systèmes de paiement. The second point is that we expect innovation in payments to continue and probably accelerate. La banque veut faire sa part pour que les gens puissent continuer à compter sur une monnaie publique, peu importe sa forme. As I just said in French, the bank is ready to do its part so that Canadians can continue to rely on public money, and we will continue to coordinate with other departments and agencies to best harness the potential benefits for Canadians. As I said at the outset, cash will be with us for the foreseeable future. Many Canadians rely on it, and the bank will continue to supply it and support it. But as the digitization of the economy progresses, we need to make sure the payments ecosystem evolves with it and takes advantage of future innovations. The Bank of Canada is very eager to continue our collaboration with the Department of Finance, Payments Canada, and the industry to ensure that Canadian households and businesses can benefit from efficient, competitive, and safe payment systems. Ultimately, we want to make sure that your $1 million can get you anything your heart desires. A nice Reliant automobile, maybe a llama or an emu, but not a real green dress, because that's cruel. Thank you very much for your time and attention.